everyone, welcome to another episode of The Giant Leap. Today we are speaking with someone who helps people unlock their potential, build successful businesses, and create a life they truly love. He's coached thousands of people, helping them break through mental barriers and turn side hustles into six-figure businesses. We want to know what really makes someone successful. And today we get to find out.
Jake Smolarek, welcome to the show.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for having me.
That's okay. It's going to be a pleasure having you on. So, yeah, really excited for this one, aren't you, Josh?
So I am. Let's get started with what got you into coaching.
Well, first of all, I'm an entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship and everything with regards to business, starting the businesses, running businesses. Probably starting is way more exciting for me rather than just running businesses itself. That's why I love coaching people when you know either starting the business from scratch and then build it to 6, 7, 8 figures, or just help people, going from being a busy entrepreneur to be a very productive entrepreneur, because that's a massive difference between being busy and being productive. So yeah, I just love challenging, love scaling businesses, love helping people going from struggling to doing really, really well.
Love it.
Yeah, what's the biggest challenge you faced on your journey so far?
Biggest challenge myself, probably. I think
I love that answer.
because that's the only thing, that's the only one person that is stopping me or anybody else. It's always me, right? If I'm having a bad day, it's all up to me. And again, like when I work with my clients, sometimes they ask, like, you're so positive, do you have bad days? Of course I have bad days. We all have bad days. It's just you have to make that decision that, like, if you have a bad day, I'm going to do it anyway, right? Or you don't have to do it 100%. Even if you only do 20%, 10%, 5%, 1% is better than nothing, right? So yeah, I think it's always me that is the biggest challenge. But I have to challenge myself every day. Like, for example, recently, I do this challenge. I do this quite often, that I go and I do 10 kilometers run every day for 30, 40, 50, 60 days in a row. And
Wow.
and some people say, like, how can you do that, like, every day? And I say, like, because I don't really go and I don't really want to do 10 kilometers. I just want to do one, and then a second one, and then the third one. And if I end up doing 10, that's great. Sometimes I will end up doing half marathon, and sometimes I have clients asking me, like, I said, like, hey, I did half marathon yesterday. Like, which one? And I'm like, what do you mean, which one? My one. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you don't understand. Like, is it like Kensington, Ealing half marathon? Like, no, it's my one. I went to the park and I just did it. Why? Because I could. That's it.
I mean, I run, so I get this, right? But running every day is a thing that my legs just actually can't do. So I have to just, I can't
But
do
they
it.
can do it.
They can do it, but they don't like to. They don't.
Yeah.
So much respect for you doing
Well,
10Ks a day.
I love the analogy of, like, when you kind of put that on top of life, because taking like 1 kilometer at a time, it's like one step at a time. You think, oh, I can't do another kilometer, and then you think, all right, I'm going to do another 10 paces, and then you get to 10 paces. I can do 10 more. I can do 10 more. Let's go. And then if you work that into your head, I think that's why running is great. And I hate running, but I used to do things like you, run every day and stuff, because I hated it. And being able to do that thing that you really hate, and then you push through it, and then that's the start to your day. I think that's a great start to your day.
And that's it, and it's like with starting a business, for example, more often than not, I have clients, especially young people, coming to me and they say, like, listen, I want to be a multimillionaire. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's a great dream, it's a great vision. But if I ask, like, how much are you making at the moment, and if they say, like, oh, 25K a year, I would say, like, you see, that's the problem. The difference between 25K and a million is so huge that your brain is not going to believe that you can do, that you can make 1 million. How about 10 or 100, right? But how about going from 25 to 75? And then to 100, and then from 100 to 200, and then to 250 and 500,000, and then eventually 1 million. I had businesses with multi-million turnover, right? But it's a step-by-step process. You're not going from 0 to 1 million overnight. It's a process, right? It's the same like with anything else. It's step by step, and it's so much easier, right? Because you can believe that you can go from 0 to 50K. But going from 0 to 1 million, if you haven't done it before, it's just your brain is not going to believe in it.
It's so funny because of all the people that we've had on this show. I don't think we've ever had it explained that simply before.
No.
And I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it does make sense. Sort of more steps up the ladder rather than just the.
I really get
plain.
that.
Yeah,
that's really helpful.
Jake, when we were talking before, when we had a little meeting before this podcast, you were telling me a little bit about your origin story about coming to the UK from Poland, and it really struck me how you came with not much. And I would like you to explain that for the listeners, because if you don't mind, because how you've built from nothing is quite incredible.
Yeah, so I basically came to UK in 2004 with basically £150 in my pocket, and a big dream, that like I don't know how I will be successful one day. How doesn't matter. I really had that, what I want. And I remember when I landed at Gatwick Airport, I went out and I bought a ticket from Gatwick to Abergavenny in Wales, where I was heading. And I spent like over £30, 35 or £39 on that ticket. And I was like, Jesus Christ, 1/4 of my fortune is gone, right? How am I going to survive? And then when I went to Wales, I find out that the restaurant where I had my first job in the UK, it's only like 1-star restaurant. And I'm like, oh my God, it can't get worse than that. And then they have to explain to me that like 1 Michelin star, that's not bad. And I was like, okay. So yeah, that was my journey. I was working for like 8-10 months in that restaurant, and then I decided like, now I need to go to London. I need to start my own business. Find a mentor to teach me, which I did, which was a great journey.
So most people that come over from Poland, they don't really do that. Like, you have lots of people that come from Poland working in the hospitality kind of industry and stuff. What do you think set you apart? Like, what is it about your early childhood that kind of gave you that entrepreneurial spirit? What drove you to do something different like you've done?
I think it's Tony Robbins who says it's either inspiration or desperation, right? That is pushing us. And for me, it was kind of both, to be honest with you. I was struggling with some eating disorders when I was younger. So I started reading like self-help books, also like psychology books. And I figured out that all people who are actually succeeding, they have a vision. The vision doesn't have to be, extremely clear, but you at least you have to know what is it you want, or what is your North Star, right? Like where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? And I really wanted to be successful. Funny enough, I didn't even know, or I didn't understand what success mean at the time, but I wanted more. So I was hungry. When I came here, I was like really, really hungry that like I have to achieve it no matter what. And I was, and because I was young and not, I didn't have a lot of experience. I was, my belief was that like anything is possible, which I still believe in that. Maybe I'm a little bit more serious that like, hey, I'm not going to be an Olympic champion, right? Because to become an Olympic champion, you have to start when you're 12 or maybe even 10 or 8, not 40, but I'm at the moment, right? But I had that hunger, and I wish that more people have that, that like you really want to be successful, but you have to have that vision. And about 10 years ago, I created something which is called a Vision GPS. A Vision GPS works exactly like your GPS at your car, but it helps you with achieving your dreams. So vision is something that you want to achieve, your dream, your best life. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Vision is different to everyone, but you must have that vision. like if you listen to those people like Arnold Schwarzenegger or all those big, big successful people, they always have a vision, they always have a dream, and they always say like dream big, right? As we spoke last time, like
Yeah.
if you had, if you dream big, even if you achieve half of it or even quarter of it, you're still way better off than most people. And my vision GPS, it's all about like, first of all, what is it that you want? Dream big dreams. As someone said, like if you don't have you have to have a dream to make the dream come true, right? First of all, if you want to win a lottery, you have to buy a ticket. It's as simple as that. And vision is something that will push us. And the GPS, it's an acronym from goals, planning, and systems. We have to have goals. Goals are great, but goals are not enough. It's fantastic to have goals, of course, smart goals as we teach in coaching, but goals are not everything. We also need to have a plan, or how I want to say, it's not even a plan, it's a planning process, because plan is fixed. If something will show up, if something like there's a beautiful book called The Black Swan by Nicholas Taleb, and he's talking about things like pandemic. No one could predict that. It just happened suddenly. And people with plan, suddenly they were like, I have no idea what should I do because I cannot follow my plan. Because you have to have a planning process in place. You have to be, very flexible. You have to adjust to the situation. People during the pandemic with planning process quickly adjust, like, hey, I only have like a shop on the high street. Well, now you have to learn how to sell online, right? That's why it's a planning process. And then we have to have systems in place. Like, for example, I come from marketing, so one of systems that I use are Google Ads or Meta Ads or any other paid ads. They work 24/7, right? We sleep and those systems works. And once we have this GPS, it's almost impossible not to become successful. Even if you fail, a few times during your journey, you're still going to achieve your dreams, because that GPS works exactly like the GPS in the car. You want to go from London to Edinburgh, you just say like, hey, take me to Edinburgh. And even if half of the motorways are closed, you will still get there, even if you have to go through Bristol and Birmingham and Manchester on your way to Edinburgh. You're still going to get there. Even if
I
it's
love
going
it.
to take you, way more time than you thought.
You mentioned about maybe if you fail a few times there as well. What do you think about failure when it comes to business? Is it important?
It's very important. Funny thing is, I think we're using the wrong F word. It's not failure, it's feedback.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because
Good way of
if
framing it.
people who fail are people who stop trying, at least in my understanding. If you try and then you stop trying, that's a failure. That's a true failure. But if you keep trying, it's not a failure, it's just feedback. You're learning, right? So we have to use the right F word, because you just keep learning. Because you see, if you make a mistake, you're always better off. The worst thing to do is not to make decisions. I am quite big on decisions. Quite a lot of my clients, when they hear me saying the word decision again, they're like, oh, there we go again. But we have to understand what decision is. Decision is from the Latin word incision, which means cutting off all other options. That's what decision is. Most people, they think they're making decision, but they're not really making decision. Decision is just like, that's it. Like if you want to own an island, you burn the fucking ship. That's a decision. There's no other way, right? So you have to make those decisions.
And that
But
gives you that ultra focus. I'm get like,
that's it.
you get
That's
nailed
it.
in, you dialed in, boom.
That's it. It's like I always say to people, if you want to be successful in something, I have that very simple formula that I came up one day some years ago. First, you learn. Second, you practice. Third, you master. And number four, you're becoming a fucking legend. But that's the sequence. And you have to go with that sequence, because it's like a recipe. If you never cook that a recipe before, you cannot act like a master chef. You have to learn. You have to practice. You master, and then you can change the recipe. But what most people do is they start making changes to the recipe before they even practice it first. You can't do that. Success is simple, but you have to do it step by step. It's like if I want to call you, I will grab my phone and there's a sequence of numbers that I have to dial, right? If I messed up two of them, I will never reach you, right? It's the same with achieving anything, whatever it's success. Success is different to everyone, but there's always a sequence and we have to follow that sequence. And again, even if we fail a few times, remember guys, it's not failure, it's feedback.
Yeah, I love that. What does success mean to you?
Yeah.
Different things, to be honest with you. Like my favorite definition is to help others, because this is what really make us happy. Success means progress. I think in reality, the only thing that actually make us happy is progress in a relationship, in a business, in life. If we're not making progress, we are not happy. And most people are not happy because they're not making any progress. They living their lives on autopilot. They go to work, they coming from work, they drink a couple of beers, they watch TV, and they repeat the cycle, and they can't wait till the weekend. It's like over the weekend, I can't wait till Monday when I'm going to start working with my clients again. Like Sunday afternoon, I'm like, oh, come on, quick.
Yeah.
Because I love what I do. Like if I go on holidays, 2 or 3 days, I'm fine. But day number 4, number 5, I'm like, can I at least open my laptop?
Yeah, I think that's so true, and we feel the same. And it's funny when you're saying that, it reminds me of like our relationship, me and Cacey, because we've been together 13 years, but we're progressing all the time. It doesn't feel like we've been together long at all because it's always completely different. We're completely different. I think that's the great thing that keeps you going and long lasting forever, is that progression. And yeah, you drop in so many nuggets. I'm loving it.
100%. I mean, like I'm not really a relationship coach, but I believe in 80-20 rule. I'm sure you know what the 80-80 rule is, the Pareto principle, right? And I believe in a healthy relationship, if you get 80% from the other person that you really love, you're blessed. That's amazing, because 80% you love and 20% you accept.
Yeah.
You see, unfortunately, a lot of people, even if they find that 80%, they still chasing that other 20%, but that's wrong. It's just like, it's just work on it, make some progress, discuss things, there are always problems, right? In a business, in a relationship, but I always say to people, but look, problems are good. Because that's the whole point of entrepreneurship, for example, is you finding there is a problem, you're finding solution, and then you're making money. As simple as that. But most people, they run away from problems.
I want to go back a little bit to back again to your childhood, because I always find it really interesting where entrepreneurs and people like you get their grit from to want to be successful. So, you said you came to England and your mindset was, I am going to be successful, even though you didn't have any money on you, or, very little. So why? What made you come to England and have that mindset?
Well, probably many things, it's just like I had many goals. My vision at the very beginning was just like, I want more. But one of many goals that I had, it was like, I would love to buy my mom her own apartment, right? So she doesn't have to rent. And I remember like today when I gave her the keys, and I was basically crying, like a baby. I was like, that's yours. You don't have to pay rent anymore in your entire life. And that was amazing, like it was just like, and I was so sad that it happened at the time, because like, hey, I just achieved my goal. What's next? This was one of the biggest goals I ever had. Of course, I have bigger goals than that, but like it was so emotional. It was so fantastic. And again, coming back to that question when you ask, like, what is success? Success, I think, for me, is just like helping other people. is seeing like they are happy, seeing like they are succeeding as well, and they can also help other people. Look at very rich people like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. They get so rich, and then suddenly it's just like they give the money away because, like that's where the saying when people say like, oh, money can't buy you happiness is coming from. When you have so much money, yes, more money cannot buy you more happiness. But when I had my 150 pounds and then suddenly I lost 39 pounds because I have to buy a ticket, I wasn't happy about that, I wanted to have more. Like,
So what
because
kind of part does money play in success, do you think? Like, do you think you should be shooting for financial freedom or more, or what's your thoughts around money and success?
first of all, I always teach people to be very precise with anything they do, because a lot of people think that financial freedom is having millions of pounds or dollars or euros, whatever it is, right? But that's not true. Financial freedom is when you actually, when you're making more money, not even working, than your expenses. So if your expenses are £5,000 and you're making 6.5, you are financially free, because you have your, I don't know, maybe like an e-commerce business set up and you don't even have to run it. It's the same like with most small business owners. They don't really own a business, they just have a job. The big problem is they don't even have a holiday pay. They have to work, instead of working 9 to 5, they have to work 24 hours a day. That's not freedom. That's like going to jail, actually. Like you have no freedom because anything needs to be done properly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been there.
Yeah.
We all been there, haven't we?
We can understand that
We
part.
completely get that part of
Mm.
being a slave to your business.
Hey Jake, what's something that you've struggled with for years that you've eventually figured out?
Delegation. I call it a Superman syndrome or Superwoman syndrome, when a lot of entrepreneurs, especially those entrepreneurs who are at the very beginning of that entrepreneurial journey, they want to do everything themselves. Like, oh, I'll do this. First of all, because they want to save money. That's fair enough. Okay. But today we're living in such a great time that we can delegate almost everything. I remember in 2007-8, when I was reading for the first time Timothy Ferris' book, The 4-Hour Work Week. And I was reading it and I was like, I'm already doing this. I'm already delegate. I already had the VA from, I think he was from Congo. His spoken English wasn't great, but his written English was just good enough. And I was paying him like $3 at the time, and for him it was like, wow, that's a lot of money. I was like, $3? I'm good with that, right? And so delegation was a big thing because now I understand that you can delegate everything. Today, you can basically almost everything. We have ChatGPT. You can delegate so much to ChatGPT. Sometimes when I teach people, like, listen, even if you don't have any ideas, what business do you want to start? Delegate it. Ask other people, and they will tell you, because there's so
You
many
can even ask
ideas.
ChatGPT. You can say like, look,
100%.
this is what I'm into, and come up with something that I could make some money out of.
That's it. But you also have to do it properly, like there's in coaching, especially business coaching, there's something called idealization. So if you don't know what you want to do, just write down 10 ideas, maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe even 50, because the first 10 are easy. The next 10 are a little bit more challenging, but writing 50, that's a challenge. You're waking up your brain. Now your brain is actually working, because you never know that maybe idea number 17 and idea number 39 combined will be a great business idea.
The perfect idea.
When it comes to goals, how do you coach people around goals? Do you think that 30-day goals, 90-day goals, 1 year, 5 year, do you think they're important, or how do you structure goal setting?
I would say it varies from person to person, because we quite individuals, but yeah, we have to have long-term goals. we need to have those middle term goals, and we have to have those very short term goals, because how our brain works, we every single time we achieve something, we have this boost of dopamine in our heads, right? And that's good. That's very good, because that's mean that we're making progress, and we have to see that progress. More often than not, I meet those entrepreneurs who already achieved a lot, and they will tell me that, like, oh, I'm not that very successful. What the fuck are you talking about? You achieved so much. But the big problem is he never ever measured the progress, so he cannot see it. I
Yeah.
was guilty of that myself. When I reached, when I was 30 years old and I had my 30th birthday, I was like, oh, I haven't achieved anything. And someone had to remind me, like, what heck are you talking about? You are ahead of like 90% of other people. You build a non-profit organization from 2 volunteers to 600 volunteers. That's an achievement. But yeah, we have to measure our progress. That's
Yeah,
why.
I really suffered from that myself until I read, I think the book, The Gap and the Gain.
Mm,
And
very good book.
yeah, it made me kind of yeah, look back and be like, geez. And especially when like Facebook things come up and you're
Memory.
like, and that was a year ago, you're like, God damn, I was that crap a year ago. Oh my God, how far have I come?
Yeah, exactly. And people don't understand that. I always say to people, progress is progress, no matter how small. That sometimes I teach my clients to have something called 0% days every day, always, which means do something that take you towards your goal every single day, even if you're on a holiday. And what I mean is just like, if you read one page of a book, that's progress. That's like this comes from ikigai, not ikigai, from help me with that. It's a Japanese way of getting better every single day.
Oh,
um
I do know this. It is something like
oh
ah.
God.
We'll have to think of this.
Yeah,
I'll put
basically,
it in the show notes.
yeah, it's basically you getting better every single day, even if it's just 1% better. It's every day. It's progress, because it's James Clear, he's talking about it in his book
Yeah,
Atomic
Atomic
Habits as well.
Habits. Yeah.
That you basically have to get better every day. And I said, like, sometimes, just a little progress is better than no
Kaizen.
progress. Kaizen,
Kaizen.
correct. That's
Kaizen.
100%.
Yeah.
And like, for example, my brother, I was teaching him, my brother was making this massive mistake that he would create like a massive to-do list, and then he would achieve half of that list. And at the end of the day, he would be like upset, like, oh, I haven't achieved what I wanted to achieve, because that too much. Sometimes less is more. I had a client recently, and he was trying to make some progress, but there was no progress. He was so busy, but no productive at all. And I said, like, remove everything from your list, and leave just one thing, and just finish that one thing. And it took him one day to finish that one thing. But I said, like, hey, at least you have one thing finished rather than 25 started, you know? Because it's building the momentum is the most difficult thing. When you're driving your car and you go from 0 miles per hour to 70 miles per hour, you use a lot of fuel, or electric now, right?
Yeah.
But once you get there, to keep the momentum going is easy. You can go to 60 miles per hour to 80 miles per hour, but more or less you stay at the same flow, and keeping the momentum going is easy. But starting the momentum is difficult. That's why people who are trying to start so many different things during the day, during the week, during the month and year, they struggle, because they jump from one thing to another, and they have to build that momentum again, and they have to build new momentum and a new momentum and a new momentum, and then they're losing the other momentum, and that's why they're so tired and they're so busy, but they're not productive at all.
Yeah, our mentor Lloyd J. Ross, he likes to have a dominate list where he attacks like 3 to 6 things a day that he has to get done, and he finds that like super productive. Also, he themes his days. So like on a Monday, he'll have meetings. On Tuesday, he'll be focused on social media stuff, and he thinks that's super productive. So is that something that you see similar to what you've seen?
Yeah, I always say to people, batch things, do the same things at the same time, you know, and as you said, schedule things, use the schedule, be a master of schedule. Make sure that your schedule is not a master of you.
Yeah.
Just you have to become a master of your schedule. And
Google
for example,
Calendar is a godsend, isn't it?
Yeah.
exactly. I'm using Google Calendar myself, and for example, Mondays, I always schedule like no meetings on Mondays, just like whatever things that I have to do, whatever is the most important thing. Sometimes it could be one, sometimes two things, but you are so way more productive this way because again, less sometimes is more, because
Yeah.
suddenly you're actually finishing things rather than starting loads of things and just leave them halfway
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
If someone listening wanted to grow their income today, where should they start?
I would suggest start with the vision GPS. Have a vision. First of all, know what you want, because most people, I ask this very simple question. If I can sense that someone is not sure, I would just ask this very simple question. What do you want? And most people are like, oh, wow, I never thought about it. That's the most important question you have to ask yourself in your entire life. What is it that you want? Oh, I want my children to be happy. I'm not asking about their life. I'm asking about your life. You know, take care of you. And then once you take care of yourself, you can take care of others. It's as simple as that. So first of all, you have to have a vision. And then you have to have three things: habits, routines, and rituals. You know, success is boring. I have this very simple formula, and again, it's 80-20. The first 10% is very exciting. The last 10% is very exciting. So the first 10% is when you have an idea, you want to start a business, for example, and you're like, wow, we're going to do this. It's going to be amazing, right? That's very exciting. That's the very first 10%. The last 10% is where you succeed. You already succeeded. Like you made it. You like it's great. Unfortunately, the middle 80%, this is where you have to go to the gym. This is where you have to go and exercise.
Do the
If
reps.
it's the same, like if you want to become an Olympian champion, you have to have a dream. That's the first 10%. You have to go and win. That's the easy part. The most difficult, that's the ugly truth in the middle. It's work. And most people, they don't want to work. It's like, oh, we'll use ChatGPT. No. ChatGPT can do as much, but you still have to do a lot of, that's why you have to build those habits. You have to build those routines. You have to have those rituals, and you also have to have discipline. Sometimes people like, I am not disciplined every day, but I'm doing my best. And sometimes people ask like, how can you be so disciplined? It's like, oh yeah, I just take my, a discipline shake in the morning, and then it's like, no, discipline is a discipline, even if
What
you
is
don't
it?
feel like it.
What is it that gives your mindset, like allows you to be disciplined?
A
Do you
vision.
think?
If you
A
don't have
vision.
that vision, there's nothing that will push you.
Yeah,
But once you have
good
it,
example. A good example is I hadn't been going to the gym, and then I decided to just book myself into like a first timers bodybuilding competition. And then because I booked myself into that, I was like, I don't want to show up like a fat person on stage. So I've
yeah.
been going to the gym every day.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly. You have to find what is it that actually is pushing you. I don't know if it's a competition or something else. You can do it for yourself. You can do it for someone else. You can do it for your family. You can do it with someone else, like having accountability buddy or a friend, right? Find ways that will motivate you. Motivation is a bit overrated thing, right? Because it's coming and going. But discipline, that's the real thing. We have to understand that discipline is like a muscle. You said you're going to the gym. Discipline is like a muscle. If you want to be very disciplined, you have to train for the next 3 years, and this is how you become disciplined. And just because you fail from time to time, like you wanted to go to the gym and you fail, it's like that's fine. It's okay to fail. Just make sure you don't fail every day and every week and every month, right? For the next 12 months. Because it's okay to fail once, and it's okay to have a bad day, but it's not really okay to have a bad month. You know, maybe even a week it's okay to have a bad mood, but suddenly you have to like, hey, get over it, you know, get discipline. But discipline, people say like, oh, where's the discipline coming from? Discipline is coming from being disciplined. You know, you go to the gym even if you don't feel like it. Sometimes I say to people, listen, if you don't want to exercise, just go to the gym, do nothing, and go back home. More often than not, you go there and you'll be like, I'll do something, right? And maybe you will end up with the full training or maybe half of it, but at least you made some progress, right? Now we're talking about progress again. But this is how you get discipline. It's the same like when people say like, I want to be more confident. Where is the confidence coming from? Confidence only is coming from only one place, doing things. That's it.
Yeah, and
You do
stacking up the proof. If you stack up proof,
correct.
then you have that proof and you can look back like I've done that before. Like I like to think of it as like in our calendar, we have things booked in and we may feel like crap, but it's booked into our calendar. We show up and then even though we feel like crap and then we show up and we're in a great place when we show up, we have that proof. Next time we know we're feeling like shit, oh well, we can still do it because we've done it before.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why that having that vision is so important, because sometimes I give that example to people. I said, listen, if you have a job and your boss asks you to be, at the company at 9 a.m., you will be there at 9 a.m. But now you want to start your own business and you cannot wake up at 9 or 8 or 7. So you will do more for other people than you will do for yourself. You will work for someone else's dream and you don't want to work on your dream. What's wrong with you, right? I know you probably don't have the vision, or your vision is not clear enough, because when people have a clear vision, they don't mind waking up at 6, 5, 4, 3 o'clock in the morning, because they know what they want. They know what they want to achieve.
What is it that drives you? What's your motivator? What makes you be disciplined?
Again, not really motivation, because sometimes I'm motivated and sometimes I'm not. Again, coming back to what we were talking a bit earlier, when I go for a run, I try not to go for a 10 kilometers run or 6 mile run. I go just for that's 1 kilometer, just one, and then the second one and the third one. But again, my biggest motivation and discipline is coming from that vision. It's just like I want to tick off every day one of my goals, or maybe 2, or maybe 3, or every week make progress, because really making progress is what makes us happy, everyone. And make sure that you make progress not only with your business but also with your personal life, with your with your diets, with your exercises, and suddenly it looks like we can achieve so many little goals every single day, and this is what push us. I call it 2 circles. There's a positive circle and negative circle. Most people, or even spirals, actually, when we look at those very successful people, they super successful, they've got the money, they're very happy. You look at them, they're always smiling, they just so happy, successful, positive, because they're in that successful, positive spiral. They're just doing more and more and more and more happy they become. But most people, they in this the spiral, they just don't do a lot. They're just doing as minimum as they can. They don't exercise, they don't eat healthy. Some people say like, why are you eating healthy every day? Yeah, you see, because a diet is what we eat for an entire life, not for what we eat for 30 days or 60 days. That's not a diet. A diet is what we eat every day. Go and check in dictionary what the diet is, right? Because it's a boring routine that suddenly will become a success. This is what the overnight success usually takes 10 years, sometimes 15, sometimes 7. Some people are a little bit more lucky, and some people not, because luck is not distributed equally. Unfortunately, that's why some people are a little bit more lucky and some people are a little bit less lucky. But the thing is, the rule is, the more you do, the luckier you get. Why? Because it's a simple mathematics. If you do 10 things, something must work out. If you did 10 things and nothing work out, then do 100 things. Because eventually, because that's the law of probability, right? That eventually something will stick.
Yeah, I love that. I think most people want to be successful, but the funny thing is, like, they don't even define what success is to them. How important do you think
Correct.
that is to define your success?
Is extremely important. It's just like, if we don't know where we're going, any road will take us there. You
Yeah.
know, we have to be very clear. Focus, being clear on our vision, on our goals is extremely important. We cannot have vague wishes. And unfortunately, that's what happened to most people. They don't have goals, they have wishes. They're like, oh, I wish I could lose some weight. Give me a fucking number, like how many pounds, how many kilograms, or whatever it is. Because more often than not, I'll ask people like, hey, have you ever heard about SMART goals? Yeah, I know SMART goals. Do you use them? No, not really. Well, that's why you're not successful. That's why you're not making progress, because as simple as it is, SMART goals just work, because they have to be measurable, right? They have to be specific. If we don't know exactly what we want, it's really difficult to hit the target. It's like, if when you play darts, you know what you want to hit, the exact number. And with goals, with whatever you call success, you have to be very specific as well. Tell me, what is it that you want? Be very specific. You have to know the numbers, because it's always the numbers game. As we spoke last time, when people say to me like, oh, like, I did some leaflets, like 500 leaflets, nobody called me. It's like, yeah, because you have to do 5,000 a day for the next 12 months, because this is the numbers game. The more you do, the probability that you will be successful is going up. As simple as that. You just have to do a lot. And again, some people are a little bit more lucky, and they'll be lucky at the very beginning, and then you'll be lucky in 7 years from now. And sometimes when I say like 7 years, but I'll be 7 years older. Well, how much older are you going to be in 7 years anyway?
7 years. Jake, what I want to know, really, I really want to get to the bottom of it. When, like, you're saying about the numbers game, and you go out and do 50 leaflets and you've got nothing. So a lot of people would then just fall off, and they wouldn't do anymore. And for you, it's just so obvious. Well, you just do 500 for 12 months every day. Why? Why is it so obvious to you? What is it that makes your brain realize that you just keep on going and gives you that drive to do that? What makes you different?
It's because I like progress. I like doing things. I like when things are moving. So when I was around 20 years old, when I met my mentor in London, in Mayfair, we went for a coffee, and I said to him like, listen, I want to be successful. And he asked like, what success means to you? And I was like, I don't know, earning loads of money. And he's like, give me the number. And I was like, I don't know, 50,000 pounds. And he kind of laughed at me a little bit, but he was very supportive. He's like, okay, if you want to make loads of money, go and start your own business. I was like, no problem. What kind of a business? And he just looked around. He saw a scaffolding somewhere, and he said like, construction business. And I was like, I know nothing about construction. And he said like, please don't create yourself a job, create system, create a business. That's what business is. It's a bunch of different systems. Find other people who will be doing this for you. You don't have to do it. So you don't have to know any, you don't have to be, an expert in construction. Just learn a little bit and delegate everything else. And the next week, I already have my crappy website. I already had my business cards. And after probably about 12 days, I had my first customer renovating a coffee shop in not far from Liverpool Street. Because that's action. This is doing things, not just like, okay, let me think about for the next 12 months, what kind of a construction business do I want to start? No, it's all about taking action. It's just doing things.
Yeah, and be prepared to fail, prepared to or
100%.
get feedback, as you say.
It's funny that you say that, because his name was Patrick. When I said like, Patrick said something to me like, remember, if you go to the business, if you want to be a real businessman, you have to fail, or you have to go bankrupt 3 times. And I was like, really? I was like, okay. And I remember when I had to liquidate my construction business for the first time in 2007-8, remember the credit crunch, I called him and I was like, Patrick, I just failed. I have to. And he was like, congratulations, 2 more to go. And I was like, I thought he was going to be a little bit more supportive, like, oh, poor you. But he was like, there was no poor Jake. There was like, yeah, start again. That's it.
And the great thing is, people that are having that experience, now you have that wealth of knowledge, like you've been through the
100%.
trenches, you've done that. You can give them all that kind of information and guide them through that process.
Yeah, you see, life is a little bit like video game. I love playing video games. It's just like when you play a video game, do you want to win and finish the video game, or you just want to continue having fun? And you want to you want to have fun. You want to keep playing, and life is exactly like that. You're just going from different level to different level. You're just progressing. Again, we're talking about progress, right? The big mistake that a lot of people do is they compare themselves, they at the level 5, and then they will compare themselves to Richard Branson, and they'll be like, oh, I will never be like, no, he is at the level 1000, he's like 40 years in the business. But again, he started from scratch. He started with Student Magazine. I'm a big fan of Richard Branson, right?
Yeah.
And he started from completely nothing, but he took action. Even if he knew that he can fail, he just like, okay, let's do it. Screw it, let's do it. That's it.
Yeah.
Screw it, let's do it.
Yeah.
I love that.
With progress, how important is it to have a mentor?
It helps. It definitely helps. I always say to my coaching clients is, listen, you can do it yourself, but it will take you 10 times longer. Because it's just a mentor, a coach. There's a little bit difference between a coach and a mentor. Sometimes I am like a combination of two, because I've been there. I've done lots of things. I failed so many times, not failed, got feedback. That is just like they will prevent you from making lots of mistakes, because we can learn on our own mistakes, and that's fantastic. Unfortunately, some people, they never learn. And I always say the first mistake, it's a mistake, but if you make the same mistake twice, it's not a mistake, it's a choice. So we have to learn from our own mistakes and failures, but we can also learn from other people. That's why you see loads of books, right? Because you can read one book and it can change your entire life. Now, again, lots of people make this mistake that they will read hundreds of books, but they will do nothing about it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I say it's better to read one book, do what the book is saying, and then you go and read another book. Because yes, successful people are readers, but there are also successful people who don't read at all.
Yeah.
You listen to Alex Hormozy, and he's saying like, yeah, I still drink Coke, I still eat crap food from time to time, I don't really read books, but I wrote 2 or 3 books, right? So it's not a rule, but having a mentor, having a coach, learning from other people really speed up the whole process, because you can be successful when you're going to be 55, right? Or you can be successful when you're going to be 25. It doesn't really matter, but the earlier you start and the more people you ask, basically having a mentor, having a coach is like delegating to them to teach you, right?
Yeah.
Rather than you studying everything, you just pay someone or get a mentor that it will teach you lots of things, will teach you things that you don't even know, because the rule is we don't know what we don't know. It's very important. Let me repeat that. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So true.
Another good book is The Who, Not the How.
Well, I was actually going to ask Jake, because he is a man of many books, and it's going to be a hard question, I think. But what if somebody's starting out in business and they want a book to read, what's the one book that you would give them? The E-Myth.
The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
That's exactly what I would say as well. That's exactly, because it teaches you about the technician and the, and
delegation,
and about how to leverage people and stop working in your business and not on your business. I would say exactly the same book. That's
you
amazing.
have said that book many.
I've said that book many a time. So that's it's fantastic.
It's a fantastic book. It's quite an old book now, but all the lessons from those books, they are still relative. You know, it's at the end of the day, it's all about delegating things. Daniel Priestley is talking a lot about it. I love Daniel Priestley, you know,
Yeah, I love
that
Daniel
like,
Priestley too.
oh yeah, that, you know, at the very beginning, you have to have people like, you know, Swiss knife, you know, they do a lot of things poorly. And then eventually you hire people who are like a bread knife, you know, they're only doing one thing, but precisely, you know.
Yeah.
But to know things like this, you have to have coaches, you have to have mentors, you have to read books, and again, do things what those. But yeah, the E-Myth it's a fantastic book. It's just telling you that like don't do everything yourself. Don't be a superwoman or Superman that trying to do everything. Try to delegate.
That book completely changed my my life. So I completely agree with you. Like it
Yeah,
completely changed my
100%.
life.
You know,
Yeah.
I remember like today when I went from, you know, being a young 20 years old kid who had no idea what to do, and then suddenly I have 20 people working for me, and I was like, whoa, I am the boss. I'm 22 years old, you know, and I have to say, and then I had people, you know, because the last time we spoke, you asked me what get me to coaching. I just love helping people. I just love giving people feedback. I'm coming from Central Europe. You know, we nothing stop us from giving that brutal feedback. You know, we love that. In Britain, we are a little bit more polite, and I learned that already, right? It's just like, hey, hello, you know, I even say thank you and please to ChatGPT, which is like a bit weird. You know, but because I'm coming from that background, it's just like I like feedback, you know. I don't like, you know, going around bushes. No, this is what it is. This is what we want. There you go. Right? Sometimes I
I'm
give that.
Australian, so I fully get that. We're just
Yeah, there you
open and
go.
honest.
Right? Yeah, you have to be
Yeah,
honest. It's just like I remember like today, I have that rule when I was running my construction business, and the team said like it's going to be done, we're going to do this by this day. And I came that day and I asked like, is it done? And they would be like, well, you see, and I was like, whoa. I have two boxes, the box yes and a no. And the story doesn't fit in the box,
Yeah.
you know? You have to give me either yes or no. And they were like, either yes or no, you know, and we can go on. Because if it's not done, okay, there will be consequences. Let's do something about it.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
because I like progress.
That reminded me of a story of when I was working. I was working as a youth worker, and I came into work late, and I had an excuse ready, you know. And my boss at the time just said, "Oh, you I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I was," and she was like, "You don't need to give me the excuse. You're late. That's fine. You're late. I don't care. You're just late." And I was like, "Oh." And I think it was my first realization that actually everyone's just a person, and you don't need to just come up with excuses. If you're late, you're late, and that's it. You just go, "Sorry, I was late."
Yeah, that's it. You know,
like that's enough.
Yeah,
You need to
some
make up
people
a
are like
story.
that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
and the same, if something's not done on time, it's just not done on time. It's not done. So,
Mm.
you know, you have to deal with the consequences of that not being done. You either do it on time so you don't get the consequences, or you just don't.
Yeah.
You know?
I do agree with Gary Vaynerchuk when he said like take responsibility. You know, just be responsible for. I remember when I was running my business, I didn't even know about Gary V at the time, but I always took responsibility for me and my entire team. Even if someone from my team did something wrong, it was my fault because it was me who hired them, right? And at the same time, you know, I always said to them like, if you did something good, that's amazing. Thank you very much. That's well done, right?
Yeah.
But you know, taking responsibility, that's what a true leader is, I think.
Yeah,
You know,
so 100%. When we used to employ lots of people, and I would even ease their anxiety by saying, "Hey, if you get this wrong, it's my fault. Don't stress about it. Go for it. Just do it. Because if you get it
yeah.
wrong, you know, it's totally on me. Okay? It's all good."
Yeah, it's all good. Don't stress about it, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, sure. I'm not one of those people like, oh, just be positive, right? Oh, you know, if you go to a garden and you have weeds in the garden, you don't just close your eyes. There's no weeds. No, they are there. Take responsibility, but be a little bit positive about it, right?
Yeah.
I remember when 4 or 5 years ago, someone hacked into my Facebook account and they tried to steal like almost 27,000 pounds. That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't log into my Facebook account for like 3 weeks. My mom was freaked out. And I said to her, like, it's just money. It comes and goes, let's spend some time together because time you will never get back. Money you can always make it back. After 3 or 4 weeks, NatWest called Facebook, Facebook called NatWest. They gave me the money back. It was all good, right? But
Yeah.
I had a choice to be stressed for four
Yeah.
weeks or just to be chill and happy, because that you
Yeah.
always have that choice.
Do you believe in that situation as well? If you had been stressed, you may not have had the good outcome.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, what is of course, sometimes it's really difficult to get rid of that stress. At least try to reduce it. Of course, I do have days that I'll stress a lot. Obviously, right? I would be a hypocrite if I would say like, oh, I never stress. No, I do have that days. But at least I try. I do my best to do not stress too much, because what's the point? Will I think about it when I'm going to be 75 years old? Oh my God, 35 years ago, I was like, no, you won't even remember, right? Because mostly we remember good stuff.
Yeah, Alex Hormozy likes to do this thing a lot where he pictures himself as his 85-year-old self, and he puts himself in that space and then kind of filters the situation that he's stressing about
100%.
with the 85-year-old, talking about it. It's like, are you really going to worry about this? In
Yeah.
3 months' time, in 6 months' time, in a week's time, depending on how bad the situation is, and that kind of filters it through.
But we have to understand that we as human beings, we will always find a way. If we are pushed to the wall and we think like, oh my God, there's no way out, somehow we always find the way out. We
Yeah.
always find a solution.
Yeah. If we're looking for it.
Yeah, if we look for it, right? So worrying is like, what's the point of worrying all the time? That some of people are like warriors. They worry all the time. It's like, what about this and what about that? It's like, are you going to cry about everything? Oh, I will never be successful because I wasn't born with a success chromosome or something like that. No, yes, you can be successful. You have to do it step by step. You have to have a vision. You have to plan it. Yes, it's hard work. You have to do things. But yeah, anybody can be successful. But just don't worry about things that you don't have to worry. Because worrying is like sitting at the rock chair. You have something to do, but you're not changing anything. You're not making any progress. Start doing things. Don't worry. Just start doing things, and that will reduce your level of cortisol, because we have to understand that we are all chemicals, right? And we have to take care of that body, because as Jim Rohn said, this is a temple. It's not a, woodshed. Take care of your body, because this is very
I'm going to tell
important.
Jake my famous analogy.
Oh, what, the buffalo?
Yeah.
Okay, you can do that, and then we can do that. Go on then.
So
Josh loves this one.
So I have an analogy where there's a storm coming, and the cows, they run away from the storm, and they're running and running, and then there's also buffalo, and they run towards the storm. See, the cows, they're running away from the storm, but the storm catches up and the cows are getting exhausted, but they still keep running, and they're running actually inside the storm. And they're getting the whole thing of the storm, but also they're exhausted and running along with the storm. Whereas the buffalo that ran towards the storm, they got the terribleness of the storm. It was horrible and brutal, but all of a sudden they came out the other side and they get the fruits of the storm passing, all the fresh grass and everything. And that kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, 100%. If you're trying to get away from the storm, you will end up being at the storm all the time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Like entrepreneurs, they going towards problems. Most people are trying to get away from the problems, but problems are good. Problems, someone said in the past, I can't remember, like problems, like, I'm not very religious, but he said like problems like a gift from God. If God wants to give you something, he will wrap it up in a problem. If he wants to give you something big, he will wrap it up in a big problem. However, if you call it a God, a universe, or whatever, right? And that's kind of true. The bigger the problem, if you find a solution to a big problem, you will have a big big rewards.
Yeah,
And
that's very true, actually.
Also, the bigger your vision, surely the bigger the problems that you've got to face, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I learned that when me and my business partner, long time ago, at the very beginning of that construction business, when we hit 100K turnover, which is not a lot of money, but remember that was like 19, 18 years ago. I said to him, like, we should go to 1 million. Like, how about if we go from 100K to 1 million? And he said, like, oh, you crazy, you there you go again. You always like things like blah 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 blah. And I said to him, like, but look, it's just a zero difference, you know? It's just 1 0 extra, zero difference. But what I find out that having 100K turnover and having 1 million turnover and having 10 million turnover business takes exactly the same amount of energy. And probably 100 million. I never created 100 million turnover, but even Alex Hormozi is talking about is the same amount of energy, different goal, different vision, right? That's why, as we spoke at the beginning, think big. Don't be afraid to think big, because if you start thinking big, you will have, your brain will bring you different solutions, different ideas. If you're thinking small, your brain will be like, no problem, that's the solution for your small dream. If you dream big, your brain will be, that's a solution for your big dream. Not a problem, because there's always a solution.
So on that note, what is next for you?
Well, I would love to, to create about 10,000 entrepreneurs who would go from zero or whatever they are to at least 10 million turnover. This is one of my biggest goals at the moment, to have that 10,000. That's a lot of people, but I'm only 40 years old. If I'm going to be doing coaching and marketing for the next 60 years, hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully I should be able to make it.
That sounds like an amazing dream. I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. So we always ask the one question right at the end of the of our podcast, don't we? I can't get my words out. So you want to ask it?
So Jake, are you successful?
I am, yes. Because I believe success means being happy, and I'm a very happy person. Not every day. I would say I am fulfilled rather than happy. Okay, because you cannot be happy every day, but you can be fulfilled every day. It's like if people have children, you cannot you're not going to love your children every day. No, you're not going to like your children every day, but you're going to love them every day, right? Yeah. It's the same, like you cannot be happy every day, but you can be fulfilled every day. And this is what I try to do with my clients. I want to make sure that they fulfilled every single day for the rest of their lives.
And the key to fulfillment is surely progress. If you try to fill up the buckets with progress, all the different buckets that you've got.
It's always progress. It's always making progress. Even if it's a very small progress, that's why those 0% days are so important. That no 0% days, always do something. Kaizen, right?
Kaizen. I love that.
Get better every single day. Work on yourself, even if it's just an inch, progress is always progress. And because the last thing I'll leave you with that, I always say to my clients, please don't be fucking average, because average people are not happy people. Only those people who are happy are above average, and I'm not talking about having loads of money. Again, having money helps, right? When people say like, oh, money can't bring you happiness. No, you're shopping at the wrong shop, because money helps. If you go to a shop, you're paying with money, not with hopes, right? Yeah.
I love it. So you've listeners, you've heard it here today. Don't be fucking average. Okay, don't do it. Where can we find you? If somebody wants to get hold of you, where can we find you?
Yeah, the easiest thing is just Google me, Jake Smolarek, and you will see my socials, my website, and everything.
Excellent. We'll pop it in the show notes.
We'll leave your Linktree link in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for today.
I've had so many nuggets.
I feel like we could have gone on more and more journeys there. You have got so much wealth of knowledge to give our listeners. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute
the ultimate
pleasure
guest to have on. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.